If you're in the market for a pellet grill, you're gonna wanna watch this video because today I'm going to be reviewing and testing the Z Grill's 700D3 pellet grill, and I have a feeling you're gonna like this thing. So I've had a Z Grill's pellet grill for about 3 years now. It was their 602E model. It was one of their cheaper pellet grills when I was looking for a pellet grill. And when I first bought this thing, I did a ton of research into all different kinds of pellet grills to figure out which one I wanted to get without spending crazy money. Because I'm sure you know pellet grills can be quite expensive depending on what models and brands you're looking at. I didn't want to spend big bucks on a pellet grill. I just wanted to get something cheap because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. So when I was doing research, I found this company called Z Grills, and they actually were the company that made the controllers for the Traeger grills. So I figured if they made the controllers for the Traeger grills, then their grills must be about the same quality as a Traeger, but obviously they don't have the name. So I ordered one of their pellet grills, got it, and the thing has been fantastic for the past 3 years, and it still works phenomenal to this day. So whatever your opinion is on pellet grills, they have a great purpose. They are super convenient. You don't have to deal with charcoal or wood or much of a fire management at all. You just turn the knob, set it to the temperature you want, and you are good to go. Now, yes, you may not get the same exact flavor as a charcoal or a wood-fired offset smoker, but the convenience can't be beat, and it has great use at making things like bacon, which is perfect because you want to cook it at a low temperature, and most pellet grills you can set about 180 degrees and it'll maintain that temperature as long as you would want. If you're trying to do bacon on an offset smoker and manage that low temperature, it can get a little difficult. Pellet grills are also perfect for doing beef jerky, but one of my favorite things to do on a pellet grill is to do a reverse seared steak. It always comes out fantastic. I've been very impressed with my Z Grills. The reliability has been great. It has had a few hiccups, and it was mostly my own fault for not cleaning it properly. When you have a pellet grill, you have to make sure that you clean out the ash every few cooks or so because it'll start to build up on you, and that's when you can start to have issues. The only thing with my pellet grill, it is a little bit on the smaller side because I bought their cheapest model, but other than that, it has been absolutely fantastic. So I decided to reach out to Z Grills, and I let them know that I really enjoyed their product and I would like to try one of their newer grills so I can put it on my channel and show you guys how great their pellet grills are. So they got back to me and they said they were gonna send me out their 700D3 pellet grill for me to test out and review. So I'm super excited about this. So I got the grill. You have to put it together yourself. It's not too bad of a job. It's probably about an hour or two of work. When you open up the package, you'll see that they give you a nice pair of gloves. I highly suggest wearing this when you assemble the grill because there are some sharp pieces in there. Pretty straightforward. You just assemble the base, get the wheels on and everything, and then you can throw the body of the smoker on the base, get that mounted up, then get your hopper put together and slide it into the smoker, run all your wiring. That's probably the hardest part, is getting the hopper installed to the body. So like I said, you need to connect the wires and stuff, and it is a little on the heavy side, but it's really not that bad a job at all. Then get everything put inside the smoker, all your plates and baffles and everything. Attach your smokestack, handles, and you are good to go. Now this grill also came with a grill cover. It also comes with 2 meat probes, which is nice that you don't need a separate thermometer. You can just hook it right into their controller. Now once it's assembled, you're gonna wanna do a burnout on this thing. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, the Z Grill's pellet grill is all assembled, not too bad. Now we're gonna do our first light, and we're going to do a burn-in. So what I did was I took out everything inside so we can visually inspect the pellets coming out of the hopper into the fire pot and make sure everything works good. Now because of that, I've only put a little bit of pellets in here just in case we do have an issue. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Turn on this control panel. We're going to go to smoke. So I can hear the fan going. That's our actual temperature. And these are the temperatures of the probes, which I do not have plugged in at the moment. All right, so a cool feature on here is this feed button. If you push that, it engages the auger and starts bringing pellets into the hopper. So we're gonna go ahead and use that now to get these pellets moving. So there's the auger now. You can see it moving. So everything seems to be working all right. Just gotta wait for these pellets to come out. All right. So here come the first pellets. Auger seems to be working. You can see the igniter is getting hot. So everything is working pretty good. We'll just wait to make sure that these pellets light up, but I don't see why we would have an issue. And there we go. So everything's working good. I'm just gonna get all these pieces back in. You got your deflector plate there. Now I got the drip tray in. Bottom grill grates. I'll get this top grate in. There we go, all those are in. Now we're just gonna close this up, and then we are going to put this to the max temperature, which is high, and that's it. We'll see how hot it actually gets on high. But for now, we're just gonna let this go, and then we'll be ready to give it a real test cook. So now that the burn off is done, we can go ahead and give this grill a test. And for a test today, I'm gonna be doing a steak because like I said, I love cooking a steak on a pellet grill. One of my favorite things to do because it comes out so good. So here is the steak for today's cook. It is a beautiful cowboy cut, choice grade ribeye steak. It's about 2 pounds. This is going to be fantastic on the pellet smoker. It's gonna allow this steak to slowly come up to temperature so you have a perfectly pink center throughout. But let's go ahead, get this seasoned up so we can get it out on the smoker. So for this steak, I'm going to be using my SPG blend. This is perfect for a steak, very simple. If you wanna know the recipe for this seasoning, be sure to check out my seasoning video. I show you how to make this delicious SPG blend that is perfect to have around the house. It goes great on absolutely everything. But not only that, I will show you 3 other seasonings in that video as well. I show you my barbecue seasoning, which is a great go-to seasoning for anything you're throwing on the smoker. I'll also show you a couple of my other favorite seasonings, one being a jerk seasoning, which is absolutely fantastic, and the other one is a blackening seasoning, which is a must-have if you like doing fish tacos or even blackened chicken. They're super simple and delicious seasoning, so be sure to check out that seasoning video. I can put a link for it right up here. Check it out after you watch this video, and then you'll have some great seasoning recipes to try out. But there is our steak, beautifully seasoned with that SPG blend, and it smells fantastic. So now that we have this seasoned, it is ready for the smoker. So let's go ahead, go out there, we'll start this thing up, and then we'll get it warmed up so we can get our steak on. So the fine folks over at Z Grills kindly sent me 2 bags of their premium pellets. They sent me their hickory and their competition blend. So for this steak, I think I'm going to go with the hickory. So let's go ahead and load our hopper up with these hickory pellets. All right, so I don't like to overfill the hopper. I usually like to put in just enough pellets for what I'm doing, and this is more than enough for this steak cook. So let's go ahead and get this closed and get this thing fired up. And you're always gonna wanna open the lid when you start this. And what I did here on the drip pan is I put a piece of tin foil. I highly suggest doing this to your pellet grill. It makes cleanup so much easier. You're definitely gonna wanna go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead, start this up. Get our power on, and we're gonna set this to smoke. Now we're just gonna wait, let this thing light up. So you can see this thing is starting to smoke. That's your sign that the fire is about to light. So once the smoke clears away, you will know that the fire has been lit in the fire pot, and then you can close the lid and set it to the temperature you want. You can see how much smoke there is. This is why you wanna start it up with a lid open. I don't know if you could hear, but I just heard the fire light, and you'll see the smoke clear away pretty soon here. And there you go. Just a nice light smoke, which is exactly what you want. So let's go ahead and get this lid closed. Now we can set our temperature. And for this steak, you can either go to 180 or 225. And since my steak is nice and thick, I'm gonna be doing 225. But if you have a thinner steak, 180 would be fine. You really want a nice slow cook on this steak. But I'm gonna let this get up to temp, and then we can throw the steak on. All right, so the Z Grills is up to temp. That didn't take long. See, we're at 235 degrees, 230, right where we want it. Like I said, you can go a little lower, but since we have a thick steak today, I think the high temperature will work a little better. So another cool thing about this grill is it perfectly fits my cutting board right on the hopper lid. Very convenient. Let's go ahead and get this steak on. So I want to put this down towards the stack side. I think it'll be a little cooler there because our fire pot's over here. So I think this is a perfect spot for it. Now, like I said, the grill comes with 2 temperature probes for internal meat monitoring, which is great. And I'll tell you this, these probes are super thick, heavy duty, so I'm happy to see that they didn't cheap out with a cheap temperature probe. So if you come over to the side here, you can see this little rubber grommet. So what that is for is to run your probe right through, so you don't have to run it under your lid. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this inserted. All right, so that is about center there. Now all we gotta do is come over here and just plug it right into there. And then you can see our temp. We are at about 46 degrees internal. Perfect. So that is that. Steak is on. Let's get this closed up and let it cook. Now I'm just gonna let that steak cook on there and slowly come up to temp. That's gonna allow this to have a beautiful pink center all the way through. Now what temperature you bring the steak to is all depending on how you like your steak cooked. But I will say when you're cooking a thick steak like this, I like to cook it a little bit hotter than I normally would for a thinner ribeye. So I'm looking for anywhere between medium rare to medium, probably more on the medium side for a thick steak like this. So what I wanna do is bring the internal temperature of this steak up to around 125 to 130 degrees. If you like your steak more rare, you can pull it off around 115 or 120. You wanna pull it off a little bit earlier than the desired temperature because we are going to be searing it afterwards to get a beautiful crust on this. So my plan is to let this go till it's around the 125 to 130 degree mark. Then I'm going to pull the steak off, get the grill turned up to high. I'm gonna throw a cast iron pan into the smoker and we are going to sear this thing and give it a fantastic crust. My guess is the steak is going to be on the smoker for about an hour and a half to 2 hours until we can get the internal temperature we're looking for. Now, like I said, you can run your smoker in the 180 degree setting. It will take a little bit longer for your steak to cook, but that is a perfect method for cooking a beautiful steak. I like to bump the temperature up a little hotter, like I said, since it's a thicker steak. Now, I know people have different opinions on pellet smokers. For me, you really just can't beat the convenience of them. Now, you're not gonna have the same flavor as an offset smoker. You just can't compare to that flavor. It's absolutely fantastic. Nothing beats a traditional wood-fired offset smoker cook. The thing about that is it's a lot of work and you need to really manage your fire to keep your temperatures good. I'm usually going out and tending to my fire every 20 to 30 minutes, so I really don't have much time to do anything. Sometimes you want to just sit back, relax, have a beer, and just not have to worry about your cook, and that's why a pellet smoker is absolutely fantastic. Another reason is if you're having a big event or party and you're having guests over, you want to spend time with them. You don't want to spend the whole time tending to your smoker out there, and this is another great option for a pellet smoker. Other reasons to like a pellet smoker is because you can get a hot temperature very easily. Just crank it up to high and you will get about 450 to 475 depending on what your smoker is. So now with your pellet smoker you can actually bake because you have a hot temperature, and like I said, chicken wings are phenomenal on the pellet smoker. I'll have a video on these in the future, so be sure to look out for that. But whether you like a pellet smoker or not, you really just cannot deny the convenience of them. And for a lot of people, it is a great way to get into smoking because you don't need to deal with the fire management end of it. You can just focus strictly on the food and you still get fantastic barbecue off these things. But you'll see why I like pellet smokers so much when we get the end results on this steak. And speaking of the steak, let's go ahead, jump ahead, and give this thing a check. All right, it's been 2 hours on the steak, and you can see we are at 131 degrees. I checked it with an Insta-Read, and it is right on. Now, I just opened up the grill, so that is why it is at 175, but I will tell you, this thing was rock steady at 225 the whole time, so that was pretty impressive. But let's take a look at this steak. And what a beautiful steak we have here. See that beautiful red color we got on there, and the fat has that nice rendered yellow look. This is exactly what you want on a steak. So this is done. Now all we got to do is get this thing seared. So I'm going to pull the probe out of here. I'm gonna grab this steak. I'm gonna take it off. We're gonna let that rest. And while that's resting, I'm gonna get my cast iron pan on the smoker, and we are going to crank this up to high. Now we're all done with the probe, so I'm gonna get that pulled out. And you can really hear that fan going now. This thing's going to be screaming hot, and that's what we want. So let's get this closed up, let that pan heat up. All right, it's been about 20 minutes. This pan should be nice and hot. Check it with this Insta Read. So we're at about 430 degrees. So now all I want to do is throw in a few tablespoons of butter here. Now along with that, I like to add a drizzle of avocado oil. What this is going to do is keep that butter from burning. Go ahead, let this butter melt down. Now for this, I'm just sticking with the butter, but feel free to go ahead, add some rosemary, thyme, a little bit of garlic would be nice. So that is all set. Now let's get our beautiful steak. Oh yes. And just let that thing sear. So it should only need a couple minutes per side. I'm gonna close this up just to keep the heat in. So I'll see you when this thing's ready to flip. All right, it's been a couple minutes. Let's take a look at how this thing's coming out. Oh yeah, that's getting a nice crust. Let's go ahead and flip it over. All right, we'll let this go a couple more minutes. So another couple minutes. Let's check this thing out. Nice crust we got here. I think we're almost done. I'm just gonna go ahead and try and sear this fat on the outside real quick. All right, this beautiful ribeye is done. Now I'm just gonna get it off, let it rest, and then we can give it a try. The steak is rested. This thing smells fantastic. I can't wait to slice this up and give it a try. Now, before I slice into this, I just want to give a big thank you to Z Grills for sending me out that pellet smoker. This thing is fantastic. This cook went super smooth, and like I said, it was at a steady 225 the whole time. I went out there to monitor it just to make sure, because on my other Z Grills, it does kind of fluctuate a little bit, but this thing was super steady right at 225. I'm super impressed with that. Also, their internal meat thermometer was right on with an instant read. So all in all, this is a fantastic pellet smoker, guys. And for the price, it is incredible when you compare it to these other smokers. If you had that smoker in a Traeger, you're probably looking at a little over $1,000 for that. This smoker is just as good, if not better, and I would highly suggest them. Like I said, I have one that is 3 years old and it is still super reliable. I can cook on that thing whenever I want. Now, if you're interested in one of these pellet grills, I will put a link down below, so be sure to check that out. They have all sorts of different pellet smokers to fit your need. If you're looking for something a little cheaper or smaller, they have that, as well as some really nice high-end models if you have a higher budget. But don't be fooled because it's not a big name. These Z Grills pellet smokers are absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend them to anybody looking for one. Thanks again to Z Grills, and I'm going to be using their pellet smoker for a bunch of cooks in the future, so I'm going to really put this thing to the test. Let's cut into the steak and see how this thing came out. So first off, just take a look at this beautiful ribeye steak. That not amazing or what? So I'm just gonna go ahead and get a few slices off of here so we can see how this thing came out. Oh yeah, absolutely wonderful. Check that out. You could see the wall-to-wall pink I was talking about. This thing is super juicy. I don't want to squeeze it and let all that juice run out. Absolutely amazing. You can see this beautiful slice of steak right here. Nice color, beautiful marbling fat throughout this piece of steak. This is absolutely fantastic. And you can see it's nice and tender. Oh yeah, that is some perfectly cooked steak. This is why I love doing this on the pellet smoker. You just can't beat a pellet smoker steak. It comes out perfect every time, and you don't need to rush or worry about it overcooking. But I gotta give this a try and see how it tastes. So that is delicious. Perfectly cooked steak, and it has an awesome smoke flavor to it. I'm telling you, just for the steaks alone, a pellet smoker is worth it. This is a great way to cook a steak, and like I said, it comes out perfect almost every time. Super tender, and the flavor you get is so nice. So again, I'll put a link to the Z Grills down below. I'm also gonna put a link to everything I use in my videos down there as well, so be sure to check that out. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe right over here. Like I said, I'm gonna have some new pellet grill videos coming out, and if you wanna see another good barbecue video, you can check this one out right over here. But most importantly, get out there and smoke something good.